Good evening, free enterprise fans, and welcome to another exciting community Monday night race. We have the Fabul Gauntlet flags tonight. So on stream, Funnel Cakes, Rex Banner, Cubs Rule 21, and Rybon, an absolutely stacked group of runners here on the restream. My name's Fatasia. I'm joined tonight on the mic by Y2 Sky. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good, and I gotta tell you, I'm excited to watch this race now that I see everything going on here. Got some spicy objectives. Could potentially make for a jet seed. And speaking of gauntlet flags, yeah, that's a gauntlet of restreamed racers for sure. If memory's not mistaken, I see two ZZ5 champions in the restream tonight.
Yeah, both Cubs Rule 21 and Rybon did fantastic. Funnel Cakes and Rexman are also two fantastic runners who have definitely won top 16 in several tournaments as well. So this is a stacked tournament right here. Really looking forward to this race on some old Fabul Gauntlet flags where all 5 objectives have to be completed, so we don't have the option of not getting one. And some interesting, a couple boss hunts, a couple things that are locked behind some key items, and then the freebie, free the hostage ops, which we kind of want to do anyway.
Yeah, with no free characters on, that's probably one of the first things our runners are going to be doing. This set of objectives honestly could go either way. Two boss hunts. We saw in ZZ5 how wildly varied boss hunts could be. You can, and with all of them being required, you could absolutely take on all 32 bosses. Uh, and have to complete 100% of the game to get all of your objectives. So, yeah, this could be faster. We could be in for a long marathon here too.
You know, I'm not too worried about the first 2 objectives because I think we'll eventually get into the underworld naturally anyway. But that Baron Castle key could absolutely be buried. I think that's going to be the key to how quickly we can get through here because that thing could be absolutely buried. Or if we get it relatively quick, I think it'll be a much faster seed overall. So that's what I'm looking out for. And I think if I'm a runner, I'm probably prioritizing key item checks specifically because of that Baron key.
Yep, definitely for sure. With only one key item objective too. Well, two if you count the one just available getting underground. Yeah, we could see this turn very quickly into a boss face check too.
True, and you know, there's lots of bosses up on the moon that could very quickly become that. So we are off to the races with our Sid start and our Kane buddy, Vanilla Kane, and the Darkness.
Yeah, Vitasia, you know how those darkness starts go with objectives like this, right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. These are the ones that I always lost. So have fun, guys. Yep,
Yeah,
as
like you
Zeno
mentioned
said.
earlier, it's definitely going to come down to that Baron key location now.
Absolutely. And Info Fortella on the moon, Xenocat, that's the dream, isn't it? Fly me to the moon and whatever the rest of that song says.
Divergence here already. Cubs and Funnel Cakes going straight to the moon. Rex Banner looking in Baron in. Found an Hourglass 2 in the pot just outside. And Rybon's looking to go raise the Hovercraft first thing. And finds a Stork Road.
I mean, I like the Sork Robe. I even like the Rosa that's right there because that guarantees us the White Mage. But I still like the Moonplay just at least to check the character at bare minimum.
Yeah, as we've seen in races like this, the characters you find early on can definitely set the tone, especially if the objectives come quickly, and you'll really want a Tella to open up that D machine ability if all of a sudden we're staring down go mode and we're 20-30 minutes in.
Saw a Dwarfax pick up and a Cat Claw there on Rex Banner doing the early Castle Eblin check. Now, this was popularized right at the end of the Fabul Gauntlet, right before ZZ4, where people started making this an early check in the route. So, uh, flash from the past a little bit in the early routing on Rex Banner's side.
That's definitely been the theme of these community races, and it's definitely been a fun throwback. I don't know where you fell in the Free Enterprise Timeline of Vitasia. Fabul Gauntlet was the first tournament I was a spectator on. It really kind of sparked that love of competitive racing. So yeah, this is great to watch this.
Okay, so I've been around since before ZZ1, so thank you for making me feel old. Zeno, I mentioned this. Oh, there's a Golbez up on the moon. Oh, that's. I hate seeing that. But I remember seeing right at the end of Fabul Gauntlet, Big Dunka was doing the practicing and routing in the early Fabul or Eblin Castle, and I remember seeing it and going, "That's so cool!" And I immediately started doing it in my routing for Fabul Gauntlet as well, and that's when I started winning in the back half of that tournament.
It's good. Rexman are finding some interesting stuff in Eblon Castle. Ninja Sword and Ninja Hat. The Ninja Hat can be used by any of our characters, or most of them. And but that Ninja Sword, I hope we find a ninja to go with it.
All right, so now Rex is going to go ahead and get his character as Rybon also does. So that is another white mage. Really interesting to see the routing up to this point in time. Just making the checks that we can, and then seeing where it leads us. It's really interesting because with Sid, and even a decent weapon on Kane, like we can get through a lot of stuff here in the overworld.
Yeah, that seems to be the overall theme of what our runners are going for. Just looking for some kind of setup for Kane here. Sid comes pre-equipped with the wooden hammer, so that's serviceable to get you through objective 1, depending on who's at that spot. But Kane, you really want to find the right gear for him. The Dwarfax is equipable, but not what you want to do unless you're trying to use Kane as an anchor. Mute Knife in the water you pass for funnel cakes is kind of interesting. Again, if I think Kane can actually wield that, but not super powerful on its own.
No, we're really hoping for something else. I mean, the Dwarf Axe is serviceable. Not what you want to hang on to, but hey, back row glitches are turned on, so we'd like to see it.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest value you get out of that for Kane. Also, that pretty much cements Sid as the preferred anchor for this scene, at least in the long game.
Yeah, Xenocat, I saw that as well. It was white arrows. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but so Funnel Cakes is diving into the Antlion Cave. So this is going to be our first real objective check. So it'll be interesting, and a nice black robe as well, in addition to that Sork robe. So if we end up finding a black mage, we're set, honestly.
And we ended up with a freebie at the Antlion spot, the Officer Soldier. Not quite the spot we want to see that fight.
Well, I mean, it's nice because, at very least, it'll move quickly. You're not going to get a whole lot of experience here. It's not the worst place for that. It's not great, but I can think of worse things to be there.
We got a Poison Axe pickup for on Rybon's screen. That's going to be a pretty serviceable weapon for both Kane or Edge. Remember, T standard, we can only really go up to tier 5 gear, so the best we're going to find in a box for Kane is the Gungnir Spear.
Yeah, no random whites or defense swords lying around, which would be nice. Well, hello, Cecil.
Hello, Cecil, and hello 2-for-1 objective on that.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things that always comes up with these boss, objectives. Just do the other objectives and worry about checking everything else afterwards, because you're likely to run into at least one boss along the way. Escrunt, in chat saying the old adage: do your objectives, check your freebies. Freebies, sorry, stumbled over that word. But yeah, that's been the mantra of Free Enterprise for a long time. Just do your objectives, check your freebies. Good things will happen.
Yeah, the first couple of tournaments we did with objectives, this one in particular, ZZ3, where we were pulling from the entire objective pool, that really rang true because a lot of times situations like on this Mount Hops comes up where you get a 2-for-1 or there's the chain, right? Only in these more themed flag sets have we gotten a little bit more nuance to that. It's for Fabul, Gauntlet, and ZZ3 though. The do your objectives, do your freebies was a little bit more almost a hard and fast rule, with only the most egregious of circumstances dictating you deviate from that.
Well, in reality, the Fabul Gauntlet was the first tournament with objectives. I mean, other than the forged crystal objectives that were there, this is the first time we had kind of multi-layered objectives that we had to complete in order to get the crystals. So, we say do your objectives because that was what was needed. We hadn't had objectives before, so we needed to I don't know, reinforce something in the runners' minds, and it worked.
Is this a dash of vanilla here in the Baron end that we're seeing on Funnel Cake's side?
It's kind of two dashes of vanilla if you think about it, because Kane was vanilla.
Oh, and the surprise blarg behind the vanilla guards. Oof.
I mean, luckily it's super slow, but yeah, you're gonna have to set up a little bit there.
Yep, needs a little bit of setup. It's slow enough to do something with, but you're almost with this team you're gonna take the first move because there's not really anybody fast enough to kind of counteract that at battle speed 1.
I mean, depending on levels, we got that dwarf axe if we want to slow down someone.
All right, we have Rybon checking out the Fabul defense here. Let's see what we get. We've got the Rubicante full leg.
Now, we haven't really seen any like blizzard spears or swords or anything like that, and no black magic and no blizzards, so I can't really take advantage of the elemental weakness right now.
Yeah, I don't think Rybon's going to have an issue here though. The Fire 2 counters aren't doing a lot of damage. Porum here is hitting things pretty hard with that Power Staff. And Sid doing serviceable damage with the Poison Axe. Yeah, this Rubicante is not going to be attacking for long. Sure enough, there he goes.
Yep, that Power Staff Porum is doing a lot of work for several runners right at the moment. And oh, by the way, there's an early Baron key.
Tasia, how apropos is this that they got the two of us to commentate this race, and we already have 3 objectives unlocked here.
I mean, we wanted to go fast, so here we go.
Meanwhile, Funnel Cake's working on that Wyvern, was able to get a couple of Star Veils up and reflect the Mega Nuke, but still trying to do the rest of the damage to that Wyvern.
Luckily, again, this is a very slow spot, so we can kind of get some people up and survive through everything. Looks like Rex Banner is opting to go up Mount Ordeals, and so is Rybon at the same time. It's interesting. Xenocat pointed out something interesting earlier in chat. You know, we were joking about do your objectives, and then they said fade Fabul because it's a silly place. Fading Fabul was a really popular thing to do, trying to route everything together at that point in time as well. And knowing that our objective is there, I wonder how long our runners are going to actually fade Fabul. I mean, it looks like Cubs Rule is also picking it up. But if we get access to the underworld, I can see a lot of runners fading that for a bit.
Yeah, that's the only gotcha with that, and especially if you get underground and you can do some other checks. Folks tend to want to check for that pan. What did it? Tried to look on Funnel Cake's side and I missed that key item.
That was an Avenger sword. So
Avenger, that's right. There we go. Yeah, so another big pickup because we have both Cecil and Queen. So, especially if we can find a White Spear, Dragoon Spear, Crystal Sword, Excal, any of those, and we've kind of got our main damage set too. Strength brings a nice pickup on Mount Ordeals also.
yeah, so 2 of our runners fighting this Antlion, which is really unfortunate given that, we're all melee at this point in time and not a whole lot we can do about that.
All right, I see why Porum was doing so much damage on Rocket's side. I think there's a Heroine robe somewhere because I just saw it on touch screen too.
I mean, it helps. Just a little bit.
All right, we got the Octomom at the back attack spot. That's a pretty good boss to see at this spot because as soon as you get 3 attacks on it, the arms start disappearing and he starts slowing down by a pretty good amount.
We saw some very interesting tech over here on Rex Banner's side, using Porum with the Power Staff to bonk Sid to zerk him up.
Yeah, very well played by Rex Banner. That's going to speed this up a lot.
I don't know if it's going to be faster than Avenger Kane over on Funnel Cake side, but,
Yeah, the Avenger being such a big pickup there because Kane can just equip it straight up, and at that point, Kane's just going to nuke the overworld.
All right, so both Rybon and Rex Banner are about to start their last fight here, getting Paladin Cecil fully online. Hey, there's a Sand Ruby. Don't know if I'm going to check that. I'm kind of happy with my party right now.
Yeah, the party's pretty solid, especially if we end up finding something for the Cecil now that he is transforming into a Paladin. I don't really think I don't know. Maybe at this early stage, maybe check it for a Black Mage, but I'd be hard pressed to look for more characters at this point. Just stick with what I got and find the gear and start going burn.
I mean, Cubs Rule is picking up his Avenger Sword here directly with his Rosa. So that's. I mean, we got a party where we have two white mages. You can turn one into a archer, which would be fine, especially given the heroine robe slash samurai bow we got.
It looks like Cubs got Kane in the air and a Starvel on Forum, and seems to be cranking out some pretty impressive damage too. So I don't think it's Wyvern's long for this fight either.
At this point in time, uh, looks like where Rybon is going to be turning in this Sand Ruby. Like, hey, let's at least peek it.
Dropped a save, so look. Oh, yep. Definitely missed that when I was talking about the Sand Ruby earlier. Again, early darkness. You do want to look for that Tela because it opens up that D machine blind option for you.
Yeah, this is me sighing really hard because we all know what's going to be coming.
Yep, Funnel Cakes and Rex Ben are also going for the old man. We see Cubs going straight into the Barren Waterway, so we're gonna get our first peek at that.
Hey, do your objectives. Remember? So, I mean, I appreciate everything that we've done in terms of going up after deals with everyone. But I think Cubs Rule is confident in his party. He doesn't necessarily need to get Cecil online active right away. So he's like, "Hey, we can totally do this, and this is an objective. And if this ends up being, if the Magus Sisters ends up being in Baron as well, so we're gonna get Objective 4, stab in the dark at Objective 3, maybe get access to our underground as well. I mean, that's ball game. It's go mode from there."
Yeah, it could become an interesting point depending on the character that's here. Oh, that blue robe is the Gauntlet, though. That's going to take a little bit of time to get through. Shouldn't prove too much of a challenge, though. The interesting point that is going to show up here. Let's see. Well, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it the other way with the Sand Ruby, yeah, no. So if the character here in Barren Castle or underground access into Dwarf, if you end up with a Fustoya, and you don't find any holy swords, I could in theory see Cubs not going with a Cecil, not going a
It's possible. I mean, he's set up pretty well right now. Although Funnel Cakes, look, he got that old man and he immediately said, "Yep, we have either twos. We're going to immediately do D Machine."
Yeah, it makes sense. And Rowdy Sniper actually had a good point chiming in the chat. Preserving the slingshot also. So as long as Cecil is a Dark Knight, you're not gaining levels on him during the fights, and so you have a better chance of going into the D Machine with a slingshot. And I think that's also the impetus for Funnel Cake's early play here to the Giant.
Yeah, I think it's a smart play. Anytime you can get levels to just power your way through the rest of the game. Keep in mind, we have a melee heavy party. So you're kind of like locked into what you can do. You're still going to have to get some decent gear to at least power that through, but you'll have the levels if you can find the gear once we get underground. And as for the gauntlet that Cubs is going through, I think it's a bit of a slog right now, but at the same time, everyone's going to have to do the same slog, except for Funnel Cakes, who appears like he's going to be at level 50 by the time he comes through here. So.
Yeah, and that could make a difference. Not really much in the way of AOE unless he decides to just use Tele spells, which doesn't really work that well for multiple targets. But you even just having the faster melee attacks and the faster party could save quite a few seconds off of that fight.
All right, so Cubs is down and through, and fully equipping that Porum. She's going to be a melee fighter for the duration of this seed, from the looks of it. Well, not melee, but archer, physical damage.
Yep, Rybon heading for the D Machine. Funnel Cakes had to kill the Kane off. Kane is still wielding the Avenger.
That's unfortunate.
Unfortunate, and it's gonna definitely screw up the turn rhythm a little bit, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be a total loss here. This is recoverable. And our fake king today appears to be Orbs over on Cubs' side.
With that Avenger.
Yeah, the Cubs going YOLO strats here too.
Looks like just trying to clog the queue at this point in time. Just get as many melee attacks in as you can before the Globe 199s hit.
Got through. Rosa took a Globe 199, but got through it before the second one fell. So not a bad play by Cubs. That's definitely a good fast way to get through that fight.
Well, we have a Yang, which, I understand getting rid of him. At the same time, we've picked up 2 Cat Claws.
Yeah, and he would be in a position to be have a slingshot also, but the Cubs also hasn't found the old man yet. So, just going through the objectives like that, if you're laser focused on that, the D Machine grind is not. A lot of times as a runner, that D Machine grind is in the forefront of your mind here. So Cubs may not be playing around that. And there's the Magma Key. We're probably gonna see Cubs diverge a little bit further from this path that Funnel and Rybon are doing.
Yeah, I got to imagine that's going to be priority 1. He's not necessarily. I mean, he doesn't have the old man. So the only real reason he wants to go up Mount Ordeals is to get his Cecil online, and he doesn't seem all that interested in it right now. So I imagine we're doing a quick boss check in Buried Basement, just in case. But otherwise, we're going to be base checking as many bosses as we can, maybe checking for a couple, just oddball locations that do award key items, because we already got the Baron Key, but we already have access to the moon as well. So
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, Cubs is in faith check mode at this point. He has access to the king at the town of monsters. Ooh, that's a vow. But the Cubs is at a point where you could face check for the Magus Sisters. And having underground access and T standard, that's access to sirens also. So, D Machine may not be in the cards for Cubs here tonight.
Yeah, that's a quick reset.
Meanwhile, Rybon and Funnel Cakes coming right along with the D Machine grinds. Funnel doesn't appear to be having any issues despite having to knock that thing down. Rex Banner also now making the play for the D Machine. So 3 out of 4 runners so far doing the grind, and Cubs looking increasingly like it's not going to happen on this side.
Now it looks like he was just restocking up on some charm arrows, which he found in Mercidia.
Charm arrows, well, I mean they're high power to begin with, but charm arrows are also a Mad Ogre weakness. So could we be seeing maybe that type of play where go and look at Eblon Castle or something, look for a Holy Sword?
Well, I mean, he's getting his Cecil turret activated, so I mean, this very well could point us in that direction. He's going to get the Sand Ruby. We'll see if that incentivizes him to get Tella. He does have his Magma Key, so he's a little bit of a straight line edge on that. But otherwise, I was kind of hoping Cubs Rule would lean into that Magma Key because I think that would be his course of winning. If he's going to follow the same path that everyone else is, he will have spent more time going through the whole Baron process than I think everyone else will eventually when they get there.
Yeah, and then the other 3 racers have going to end up doing Baron Castle a fair amount faster just by virtue of the levels too. So let's see how this plays out. I mean, yeah, you got a Dark Knight Cecil. You want to get him online. You have the entire game open.
It does look like Funnel Cakes is done.
Yep, that is a week on the Searcher, so that's going to wrap it up for Funnel Cakes. And also have to knock the Pella out.
Just knock the Tella out and get the Cane up. So,
yeah, do not forget to get the Cane up.
Looks like Rybon is also finishing off. He took a much smaller grind. Either that or it was just more efficient, but got Cure 4 and Life 2 in white, so actually both Rybon and Funnel Cakes are really about to hit the gas right now.
Yeah, Rybon was not that much. He was not that far behind going into the grind. Only by probably less than a minute, if I'm not mistaken. So, that could have been also by virtue of just had a more efficient turn order, where all 5 of his party members were able to stay up. So a little interesting note here. Funnel Cakes doesn't yet have the Baron Key, but Rybon does. So you got to imagine Rybon's going to go for that objective next. But what does Funnel Cakes do? Let's see. I think Funnel Cakes just have to go to Fabul, I think, because the Magma Key is in the Baron trash can. So yeah, that chain is not leaving our runners a lot of options.
No, and I do like the heads up play that Rybon did. He's like, hey, I have a boss hunt. I'm at least going to check to see what this first boss is. Not going to invest any time into it because it was Luge, but I appreciate at least checking it just in case it's the Magus Sisters. Statistically, eliminating as many locations as we can.
Yeah, this was a very common play that you'd see in ZZ5, especially on the Red Moon side where the D machine gun is a bit more prevalent. But you immediately go check that first boss spot. Depending on what it is, if it's free, so if you get a if you get a KQ, for example, I mean you can't miss see, but if you get a KQ Eblon, if you get a Water Hag, if you get something you can kill with a coffin, you you definitely want to proceed through that and see and check all those spots like you said.
Well, yeah, and the experience that you get, I think that's something like 200,000 experience or something. It's a high number.
Yeah, 200k for the element spot, 300 for the CPU spot. Our restreamer Hush Pyramid throwing in some extra information too. Rybon's Rosa went in at base level, so was Slingshot to White Holy. Funnel Cake's Rosa got to life too, but not White. Thanks to our restreamer Hush Pyramid for that. That definitely explains the catch up on Rybon's side.
All right, Cub's rule is now looks like he's hunting for a holy sword. He's in Eblin Castle, so he's got his Cecil. Has not turned in his Savory, I don't think.
No, at least I don't think so. But yeah, that Charm Arrow pickup is definitely leading to the Eblon play. I think Cubs wants to find a holy sword before going underground.
And here we see over on Rybon's side how much faster he's going to be able to mow through this gauntlet over Cub's rule, who's already done the gauntlet, but he's now 50 levels higher.
Yeah, I think just the speed advantage alone with a leveled party is going to pay dividends. All right, yeah. So Funnel Cake's Ghost Fabul one-shots the Rubicante and is going to find that Baron. It's going to start finding that Baron chain.
Rex Banner also wisely double checking the boss and is set up now with the party. So we'll be exiting out here directly. Funnel Cakes does finish off that Fabul check, and immediately it is time for Baron. Oh, or we're going to be checking the other items.
Yep, just a quick Mist Cave check. We've already seen that through a few of our other runners. We know that's an Odin, so not what we're looking for in the Cave of Mist.
Do we happen to remember if we checked the waterfall cave?
We did. I saw a runner check it pretty early. It was definitely not an objective boss. I want to say it was a Moon Sparkle. And I think it was Plague. Yes. Thank you, chat.
Okay, so ninja hats are available for sale in Baron, and I did see a lightsaber as well, which isn't bad.
No, it's not. Depending on the fight, you're usually better off just going straight up Avenger other than lightsaber, but it does let you put the Avenger on home. So yeah, it's not the setup that we want for a Cecil main DPS for sure, but it's better than nothing.
All right, and it does look like Cubs is getting himself set up with Zerking with our Archer, and we're going to Protector as well, and just kind of let the Zerkers do Zerker things.
Cecil was not swinging at the Mad Ogre, so that tells me the Black Cat chest that we missed seeing the end of was not a Holy Sword.
Nope, looks like trying to get some life glitches set up and protecting and just letting the other Zerkers go down. Let's see. That's okay, Ninja Sword.
Alright, Rybon is through Baron Castle, has his Magna Key, and at 38 minutes, we are going to get our first look at the Underground.
Yeah, for a Magma Key seed, this is kind of late getting into the Underground, isn't it?
I'm kind of impressed actually. We got through a relatively extended overworld, a D machine grind, and now we're going underground just under the 39 minutes. That's not too shabby.
Well, yeah, when you put into context that you've already also done your grind and gotten 3 of the 5 objectives already done, yeah, okay.
Yeah, not to mention you also have the moon open and you're in face check mode.
The question now comes in because these are a little bit different flag sets that a lot of the runners have been running over the past year or two. These are unique sets of circumstances where, do they realize they're in face check mode? Do you okay, you double check everything and then say, oh, where's the boss that I need to go? Like at some point you're on autopilot and you forget, oh wait, I'm good to go now.
Yeah, that has happened. I know I've done that in a few I think ZZ3 seeds and Lally Ho League seeds where the objectives are a little more varied also, and like, wait a minute, I'm actually in go mode.
And there's the pan, which, I mean, will get us a couple more key item locations. And there's coffins, also located there in the Feymarch.
And again, our restreamer Hush Pyramid telling us the Black Cat chest in Eblon had a siren, so that's 2 tier 5s in Eblon Castle. On T standard, you can get anywhere between a tier 5 and a tier 8. It's equally weighted in a trap chest. So getting 2 tier 5s there, that's
Step 1, Rybon finds Mom Bomb. Okay, he's ready. Problem is, Mom Bomb hits really hard.
Yeah, and unfortunately at this spot, with that HP pool, once you get through it, you might be able to. This is usually a spot where you can get the 10k extra damage, especially you have a Berserk Cecil hitting for about 2,500 of Fleeing. So I think we'll be able to get through this without seeing the explode and the 6 punchy bombs.
He gets through. And that was the king spot. The queen spot is Leviathan, so he just kind of moved one space over.
All right, so now things are kind of interesting for Raybon, because you can face check or you can look for key items. This looks, and at the moment, looks like a stop off in Dwarf Castle to maybe check those two bosses there.
I mean, I like the check here because it's 2 checks and it is a key item because we're still looking for access to, well, first of all, there's Themis, so bonus round. But, we also have checks for bosses behind the Earth Crystal, behind the Twin Harp, behind the package, behind the Luca key, behind the Tower key, behind the hook. So there's still a lot of key items that lock boss locations. So it's not a completely empty check to still, you're checking bosses and you're checking key item locations. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it was pretty rare in the CZ5 setup that we got a seed where you were down to like 1 or 2 bosses at this early of a stage, and you had that much open to you. So, there's arguments that can be made either way. Well, there is no argument anymore.
So at 43 minutes and 50 seconds. Oh, and hi, there's a bard if we want him.
Well, yeah, from the looks of it, I think Hushed Pyramid had somewhere to be tonight.
I mean, it's a Monday night. There's a whole week of free enterprise randomizer to be had. It's all right. We can have a quick seed every now and then, just as a treat.
Yeah, and thankfully we're not having to deal with the stress of running it. we can just enjoy watching 4 other runners stress out it.
You're absolutely right in that this is one of those situations where, as a runner, you're stressing out in Rybon spot. Even if you're thinking, I got to be way ahead of everyone else, this went way too fast. But as Dubrit points out in chat, we had a starting darkness crystal and Moon was haunted completely. How many runners have been conditioned? If you have any sort of boss check, just go to the moon and do everything you can.
I know. I did the same in that position. If I had my grind available, I had the darkness crystal. I'm looking for only 1 boss. I'm definitely face checking before I go key item hunting. So for Rybon to find Dwarf there, I think he's got to be feeling pretty good about where he's got his crystal 45 minutes in. His grind's done. He's a very seasoned runner and T-Pro flag set player. He's got to feel good about this setup. Maybe thinking, hey, the other runners could be neck and neck with me, but I definitely don't think he would feel behind at all.
Hub's rule is set up right now, doesn't quite have the same levels that Rybon did, but is set up on Mombomb very well with Kane doing the swinging and just letting Cecil do the covering.
Yeah, Cubs set up pretty well to get through this fight, provided nothing goes wrong with turn order or anything like that. Unfortunately, the seed just not working out to really make it pay off. If the Magus sisters were maybe buried under some of those key items that you mentioned earlier, that might have played in Cubs' favor. Unfortunately, that's not happening tonight.
Nope, not right at the moment. I think he's still set up very well, in particular for someone who has not done the D Machine grind. I think he's still set up to clear everything. It's just a matter of getting Sirens to grind with. I don't know. They could be in Tomra, they could be in Dwarf Castle. We haven't really checked because Rybon didn't need to. He just went fast.
But that's Rybon doing Rybon things. So while Rybon makes his way down to Zeromus, they've got Rex Banner taking on the orbs at Baron Castle, so about to find the Magna Key. Funnel Cakes appears to be setting up for the Mom Bomb also.
Oh, Sky, there's a Z flag, Z and question mark in chat. Do you have any idea what that means?
Okay, Escron, I know I'm one of the older members of the community, but you don't have to try and tell me to go to bed right now. Wait, that's not. Wait a minute, that's not what that means, is it? Vitasia, I'm all mixed up here. What does that mean?
Okay, what does that Z question mark means? So this is Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. We like to randomize things. We randomize the bosses, we randomize the music, we randomize as many sprites as we can. But one thing we can't randomize is Zeromus into the overall boss pool. He has too much weird coding and too many other things going on. Big bangs in the Antlion Cave, not good. So, what is a randomizer community to do? Well, when you use the crystal, he transforms and shows his true colors, showing one of more than 500 different possibilities for final sprites for Zeromus. So the Z flags are the community asking, whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
And is the butt cute? Is the butt scary? Does it have a hat? Well, I don't see a hat. I don't know. We're halfway between cute and scary, in my opinion.
I have no idea. Is this like a Dragon Quest thing? Because I have no idea.
Yep. Chat throwing out DQs and maybe throwing out numbers. It's definitely not DQ1 or Dragon Warrior. That's the only one I remember. If we want to talk about being old.
Malroth from 2. Okay.
And while Rybon keeps setting up for this Z fight, we have Cubs Roll going into Dwarf Castle, getting ready to take on that D-Mist, and about to find his crystal.
So this is going to be fantastic news for Cubs Rule as well. I think the issue is he's not quite ready. Like, his levels aren't quite ready to just go right to Zeromus.
Yeah, and I don't think we found Sirens at all underground yet. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Rybon doing a bit of hybrid strats. He's got Cecil zerked up with the Avenger. He's got Kane zerked up with the Poison Axe, which is not great, but not bad. But then also using Rosa to cast White and Torum to cast Cure 3, just keeping everyone kind of reasonably healthy.
Yeah, Rybon, a pretty seasoned veteran at these kind of Zeromus fights. I know I know I tend to prefer the T Wildish sets where you can kind of go in and 1 to 3 characters have in-game gear and you're kind of just coasting through it. Rybon's got to be a little bit more meticulous with his strat, but definitely used to this kind of setup. Usually as long as you don't run into a combo platter, we're fine.
Yep, and so far, Rybon seems to be set up reasonably well.
Yeah, Rosa at 2488 is pretty solid, as long as Quorum can keep her topped up. And then the Cecil at 3384 is just extra endurance.
Cubs Rule is in his fight. Oh, Funnel Cakes flew over Dwarf Castle and then said, hey, you know what? I might check that.
Yeah, you might want to check that.
That looked like a counter nuke that actually reflected off the right character, so good job, Zeromus.
Yep, and Rybon successfully timed the nerf, so that's going to put him in, I think, a pretty good position. I think he may be at the point where we're not going to see another Big Bang.
No, but that black hole does make things a little bit inconvenient. The Avenger Sword will still carry us through. Sub-Zero with the crystal and is on his way out. I mean, nice legend sword.
Yep, a little late for that, and we don't have the rock to forge with. So now this is going to look interesting from Cubs' side to see what he ends up doing with his grind here, because yeah, sirens I don't think are a thing unless they're here in Tamra.
I mean,
Nope.
he's got hourglasses, so it's not completely hopeless.
No, going to the moon and taking random encounters looking for the gold dragons is a thing. Might be an inefficient way to do it, but I believe I saw rocks on Rybon's side. So we should be getting Crack Flash here, and we're going to see a sub-hour run from Rybon.
Yeah, there's rocks again, so... Oh, that was a high roll on Rosa.
No, but that'll do it. Beautifully executed by Rybon. The winner of our race tonight with a time of 55 minutes and 18 seconds. GG Rybon. Wow, well done.
Worth noting that Rybon was first place among all other community racers as well, so yeah, GG's just across the board.
Right, Rex Banner now also going into Dwarf, so none of our restreamed runners really hitting that moon face check issue that we were worried about. But we are joined in the booth by Rybon. Rybon, GG. I've come to expect this kind of running from you at this point. Well done.
Thanks. I did not really expect everything to be available so early, though. We started this flag set. I saw, 2 boss checks. They could be anywhere in the world. Who would have thought they'd be 1 required on Hobbs and 2 just waiting in Dwarf Castle?
Yeah, Vitasia and I were definitely having flashbacks to ZZ3 Hook 2 here, just everything opening up and the objectives becoming available so quickly. The burning question that we had in the booth this whole time, it never really panned out, but did the thought to face check the moon ever cross your mind?
That was my plan after, checking Dwarf. I was actually ready to reset out of Dwarf number 2, and then maybe Faith check Odin Throne, and then up to the Moon, because at this point, there were a lot of bosses that were still locked behind key items. I had Luca, Tower, Twin Harp, 2 behind the Hook Route, 1 behind Earth, 1 behind the package. I think it's about 7 bosses unavailable. But I'm still, better than 50% odds of being in go mode, of having Mag Assistance available. So I'm like, okay, I'm already down here. I can Faith check Dwarf Castle real quick, reset out of it. Maybe Faith check the top of Tower, look at Odin Throne. Not sure if I'll do the Rex banner, and then up to Moon and go check the 6 bosses up there and maybe hit pay dirt. And if I finish on the Moon, great. I don't have a path, so I could just head on over to Z. But I didn't really want to check Moon prior to finding underground access and doing the King of the Town of Monsters, because that could have easily been Mag Assisted as well. We already had 1 Dirty Devil, why not 2?
Absolutely. But yeah, the dwarf check definitely worked out in your favor. Also, we kind of had to scrape for gear. The T standard treasure's not really kind of given us what we're used to seeing in some of the other tournament flag sets that we've done. Were you concerned at all about your party comp, or is this the kind of thing you were used to running?
I was moderately concerned at the start. Kane and Sid, they're both fine characters. However, it wasn't Neki this time, so starting with a spear and a wooden hammer wasn't exactly the power I was looking for. But it turns out with that heroine robe and a power staff, I think available relatively early on for Porum, she ended up being pretty much the hero of the early game, getting me through Fabul, getting me through Hobbs, getting me through ordeals. And then she, got to stick around at the end too. Having a second Berserker is useful, having a second heal caster is useful. But really, I was still wondering the entire time, should I bother and go do D-Machines? Because, yeah, I have the perfect setup for it. I have an early Tela from the Sand Ruby, a starting Darkness, and a slingable Cecil and Rosa. But all I have for Cecil is a Poison Axe, or maybe a Samurai Bow and Samurai Arrows, which won't last very long, unfortunately. But then, of course, that Baron Inn decided to drop an Avenger, and I thought, well, the game is telling me just go do like low level or low power Zerker strats and power through the seed, and that's what I did.
It definitely worked out well for you. D-Machine definitely looking like the play. No sirens available in anything that was open. No one's found the hook, so we haven't seen the hook shop at all, but no sirens to be had so far in the seed at this point. So D-Machine was definitely the way to go. But that was the main thing I had. Vitasia, you got anything?
No, I mean, the problem is the seed was so darn short. What is there to talk about? You did D-Machine? Yeah, you won the game. It was fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most entertaining thing to watch, I'm afraid, but it unfortunately tends to be the thing you need to do sometimes.
Okay, I'm going to throw you a curveball then. Because I know with ZZ5 and all of the training that we all went through in terms of kind of relearning the game to route in boss checks, and that ended up routing things a little bit differently. Now that we go back in time to these Fabul Gauntlet flags, where there is just a handful of boss checks, did you find yourself like falling into the ZZ5 habit every now and then in terms of choosing how you're going to route things, or was it very much just, hey, I'm just going to do my objectives and call it good?
I think early on my route was more dictated by T standard and the low power I had in my team, but yeah, I did, end up checking Waterfall and Mist Cave, earlier than I normally would, just because I knew, at least by the point that I got back from Earth, everything fell into my lap, whether it was Baron Key, whether it was that Dirty Double up on Hobbs, that I knew that underground access was behind Baron. There's nowhere else it could be unless it's a cheeky D-Mist over at Zot 1, and if it comes to that, so be it. But yeah, at that point I figured, well, I truly am on just a boss hunt, so yeah, let's take some of the ZZ5 routing that I learned, and you learned, and everyone else learned back last fall, and try to put it to practice. And that's exactly where the Dwarf Castle check came from, because it's 2 relatively quick boss checks.
No, and that, like I said, it makes sense because when these flags first came out way back in for Fabul Gauntlet, we were still trying to figure out what's good routing, objectives, what's that? So there's still a lot that we were trying to learn.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to see kind of all the lessons learned over the past 2 years applied to these kind of older flag sets and just how different the game really is between then and now.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so much more knowledge floating around the community. I wasn't around during Football Gauntlet. The first tournament I watched was Lolly Ho League, and the first tournament I got to play in was ZZ4. But yeah, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges because nowadays we have so much more information and teachers, whether it's Asuka, Possum, Pancrez, PK taught me a lot. Like I didn't really make anything new myself. I'm the beneficiary of all the knowledge floating around the community that's been developed over the years. So, but it's very interesting to see, like you said, to see how strategies have morphed or strategies have changed over the years. And if people knew back then what we know now, or if they had that much more experience or that much community knowledge to draw on, I'm sure you see plenty of sub-hour Football Gauntlet seeds back in the day. In fact, you might have. I'm not sure.
Vaguely remember like hardly anything at that point. That was a weird time.
Yeah. You all spent a lot of time indoors, I believe.
Just a little bit. But GG's to you either way, Rybon. Thank you again for putting on a fantastic show and making me feel old in the process. Thank you.
Of course. Vitasia, Y2 Sky, Dubword, Pyramid, thank you all for putting on the restream. GG's to everyone else, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right, thank you, Rabon. All right, and that was our race winner, Rybon. Meanwhile, while we were doing some talking, Funnel Cakes and Rex Banner have decided to show us head-to-head Z fights. Rex opened up with a white on Malramus here and learned very quickly that does not nerf the Big Bang, so had to scramble and use another item, but looks like we got the nerf on this. Okay, and Funnel Cake's just now about to do the crystal transformation. Meanwhile, Cubs went checked that Sand Ruby after not finding some errands, discovered the Tella, and is now on his blue machine. Looking at the dueling Z fights here, Rex Banner came in quite a few seconds ahead. I'm not seeing any major advantages as far as gear or team levels or anything like that on Funnel Cake's side to make up that time, so may just have to kind of rely on RNG or anything else here.
Yeah, it looks like Funnel Cakes might be just a couple levels higher. Or Rosa's not, but at least your damage dealers in Cecil and King are at least a little bit higher level. But you got to think they have very similar gear. They have almost identical parties otherwise.
Thankfully, Rex Banner got the nerf off there. Counter nuke went to Rosa and had to bring her back up, but thankfully nerfed just in time to save that form. Otherwise, that would have definitely been a wipe. So yeah, this could come down to basically, are there any slip-ups of Big Bang nerfs? And Rex Banner will probably have to wipe here to give Funnel Cakes a shot, because I think he came in about 20 or 30 seconds ahead.
Yeah, so this is going to come down to the wire here. I think we mentioned Rex was probably in here a little bit faster, but it's a race to the rocks.
Rex also employing the hybrid strat. May have a slightly slower battle speed than Funnel Cakes here too. If my eyes aren't deceiving me here.
It sure looks like it. Although he also looks like he's just letting Cecil swing, and Kane is not doing any work.
And maybe holding Kane back for an extra turn to maybe assist just emergency heals or nerf timing or anything like that. That one was unnerfed though. Thankfully, Rosa lived through it. We got to get some heals off pretty fast here, and she was queued up.
Okay, Porum does fall over on Rex Banner's side. I mean, I don't think either team's Porum can survive an unnerfed Big Bang. I mean, it's just too low level at that point.
Cake appears to be nerfing with the crystal. I think Rex Banner was using just a couple of random J items at a little bit faster time.
Yeah, I think Funnel Cakes has this squarely under control. He's been nerfing Big Bangs incredibly well. And it just seems to have everything under control a lot more than Rex Banner right at the moment. Not that Rex is not under control. He's got the Magic Trio, which can totally take this down. It's just going to be a little bit slower.
Yeah, I think at this point Rex is opting to rely on the HP pools of his 3 party members and not risk the extra damage from timing the Big Bang nerf.
The real risk that Rex Banner is going to have in that point in time is really going to be if he gets comboed a Big Bang into a Meteo, because this party is getting pretty low immediately afterwards.
Yeah, and the other point of concern here, as you mentioned, he was only swinging with that Cecil, and sure enough, it shows up. Funnel Cakes is first to rocks here.
Although Rex Banner is right there. Oh, this is going to come down. Oh,
nope.
Funnel Cakes.
That is a crack flash. Well, not a crack flash because specs are off, but Funnel Cakes has the shake and finish. Funnel Cakes is finished 4th overall, 2nd on our restream with a time of 1:10:05. And is Rex going for some? Rex is going for some flag here. Didn't quite get it.
And winning this now is Funnel Cakes. GG's.
Thank you.
So walk me through this. I mean, everything seemed to kind of lay out for you guys pretty easily in this seed. You know, not a huge low cost hunt, not baited into going to the moon. Surprisingly, we would swear someone would get baited, but no one did on the restream.
My thought was, with as strong as I was, Dwarf Castle was going to be real fast, and if the second boss was a dud, I was just going to reset back and run up to the moon.
Yeah, that I think you and Rob were on the same page. He gave about pretty much the same game plan. Just hey, we're flying over Dwarf. Let's check it real quick. The interesting thing with the Demus tech is that ended up turning into an Earth Crystal with that on Cubs' side. Cubs actually found that because he had not yet found the Tella. So this seed full of rabbit holes, but y'all by and large managed to dodge them.
Yeah, no, it had a lot of places I could have just felt like I could have wandered off into the ether, never to be seen again.
Yeah, so the other interesting part is definitely trying to find the power level to get through the seed early on with this T standard flag. What were your thoughts trying to gear your party up and build your team?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not super familiar with T standard. I haven't done a ton of things with it. And I remember there's I think it's the Lunar Tour PPL flags run it. And all I remember being told is open a bunch of boxes. And I did that for a little bit, but then I found an Avenger. And I figured I was good to go until I could start poking around underground for some things.
Yeah, the Avenger being at the Baron in there was a huge help. But yeah, T standard, tier 1 to 5. You may find some good tier 5s if you find them. But then, yeah, the real thing with rolling the dice is you can find tier 8s in the chests. It's just they're equally weighted with the tier 5s. And we also saw in our restream that, yeah, the Avalon Castle was definitely not it. It was throwing tier 4s.
Yeah, I was like, I figured the seed was going to go on a little longer than it did. And so I'm like, I'll probably have to kill something on the moon or hunt around down there, and I'll probably find, a defense sword or an Excalibur, a Gungnir spear. That's kind of what the whole pan check was. I was like, maybe I can squeak out a big stick from the pan chain, and I think this is one of the few times I've seen 3 key items from that entire chain.
Yeah, as we've mentioned in the other interview, it's the seed was pretty much set in an hour. Early team building, and then that the routing to find the crystal is pretty much it. Do you have any other thoughts on the seed or the flag set?
It felt like a nice change of pace. 5 objectives was kind of nice compared to some of the Purple Moon stuff I've been doing where it's 8.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. 8 started feeling like a lot to keep up with in the ZZ5 style stuff. That's about all I have for funnel cakes. Vitasia, you got anything else?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. It was just a matter of do your objectives, follow the conventional wisdom, and you turn out fine this run.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with where I placed, looking at the 3 names above me. I'm alright with that.
Yeah, you definitely ran a good race, funnel cakes, for sure. GG again.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for coming out, and you guys for doing comms, tracking, and restreaming.
Thanks so much, and GG's again.
All right, and just behind funnel cakes by a tune of about 47 seconds, we had Rex Banner with a time of 1:10:52 and 5th place overall finish. GG Rex, very well run race. So Rex, walk us through that first part of the race where you're kind of trying to build your team and some of the quick objectives are kind of coming together. What's going through your mind as this plays out?
I was really hoping that there would be gear at some point beyond an Avenger, but I did see the lightsaber, but beyond that, I didn't want to open a lot of chests, and apparently there wasn't a lot of gear without doing that. So, but I had Rosa, I had Cecil, so we had the dream team that, between the two of them, with the HP they had, they could solo Zaramis, so gear wasn't major. Avenger do enough damage, it just, as it showed, took time.
Yeah, definitely can. It's definitely not what if you ran any of the Blue Moon flags or any of the T Wildish flags. That's definitely not what you're used to seeing gear wise. The big question we've got to ask all the runners is starting darkness, and the objectives came down to just boss checks very quickly. Did going to the moon before the underground ever crossed your mind?
If it was a hook route, I was going to the moon. With already doing the D machine for levels, had I found the hook, I would have went to the moon first, just to see if I could maybe snag the Mega Sisters up there and Magma Key for quick access. But with getting the Magma Key on the first, it was easier to check the underground before heading to the moon.
Yeah, but it definitely worked out for everybody on Restream, really, for sure. Yeah, a quick seed. That's about all I could think to go into. Vitasia, you got anything?
I mean, it's been the theme the entire night. It was do your objectives, and you shall be rewarded, and that was kind of it. You're right. There wasn't a ton of gear, but most everyone made do. That Avenger was doing heavy lifting, I think, for most of the race.
That was sort of my guess, that everyone was going to rely heavily on that Avenger. Like I said, there was the Light Sword, and I could have bought a Poison Axe for Kane, and he could have been putting a little bit of damage out, but really, other than that, I didn't see much. I could have spent a little time checking shops, but time spent checking shops is time other people have to get ahead, so like I said, with having the Rosa and having the Cecil, I knew that I could just put the time spent into shops, just that extra time could go into fighting Z.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it came down to. Everyone got their levels early on D money, and then used the Avenger and just leverage it. I think there was a Poison Axe lying around that most people were using for Kane as well.
I know it was in Mizdia's shop I seen the Poison Axe for sale. I just was cheap and didn't buy it.
Yeah, there was one in Antlion Cave too.
I reset out of Antlion Cave.
Well, you never blame yourself for resetting out of Antlion Cave, because you're like, hey, if the best piece of gear I got was a Poison Axe, I'll surely find something better along my way eventually, right?
Yeah. But, no, it was a fun seed, nice quick jet.
This means we're due for like a 215 slog with everything behind all of the like out of the way.
You put that evil out in the air.
I'm just talking about the law of averages here, Fantasia. This is just a known fact.
Look, I'm not going to be running a community race for a month now because of that. You jinxed it.
Look, you're just putting way too much stock in what I have to say. But yeah, GG Rex Banner. Always a pleasure watching you race. Yeah, thanks for putting on the show for us.
Well, thank you folks for the commentary. Thank you Dubward for pushing the buttons. Thank you Hushed for the restream, and thank all the folks for coming over and watching. I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you again.
Thank you, Rex. All right, and we have Cubs. Should be wrapping up his Z fight shortly. Not coming in incredibly far behind the other runners, despite getting to the D machine grind a little bit later. Able to kind of close some of the gap. I think with some of the gear. I think Cecil might be swinging a light sword that was purchased. I don't know. He's hitting for a fair amount, so it looks like that Cubs went ahead and made the investment in a lightsaber. But yeah, it's still a good run by Cubs. Just the randomization didn't really, where he kind of put that D machine, and then everything was just behind the Fabul to Baron to chain.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to him. It was just a matter of, hey, everyone else went and got that Tella early and really leveraged the early D machine grind, and that's been the theme, I think, for a lot of these early objective-based runs, like in Fabul, Gauntlet, and ZZ4, and these early tournaments. It really was, if you can get your grind early, because then the rest of the game is a cakewalk.
Yep, and we have a crack flash on Cubs' side, and down goes the Aromas for our final finish on the restream. 123.18, so still a very, very good time from Cubs.
Yeah, Cubs didn't have to spend a whole lot of time that the other runners did on the D machine. He was already at level 31 on his Cecil by the time he got there, so he didn't have to do kind of full chains. He just got up there, killed a couple dragons, and called it good.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the times. I really think the race came down. It really came down to Rybon getting that slingshot on Rosa and not having to do as many dragons as Funfix Spam. It really gave him a boost through the rest of the run.
It really did make quite a bit of difference, especially a little bit later. Being able to have the Q4s and the whites in particular. And we're now joined by Cubs Rule 21. GG's.
Thank you, GG's.
So Cubs, that lazy old man in the bed, he couldn't be bothered to join up with you earlier and help you out there.
I was just checking for an edge, and was then gonna just take Ribbon Room, but seeing the old man made me decide to the hook almost made me go check for sirens, but I didn't want to take the time to launch the hovercraft at that point. So if not for the Tella, I'd just go do Ribbon Room and try and fight my way through. So it happens, I suppose.
Yeah. And also, oh, sorry, Vatasia, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. We've been talking over each other. I insist. Go ahead.
But yeah, Cubs. Also, the key item placement didn't really do you any favors. I mean, everything basically being the Bull, Baron, Magma Chain might have turned out a lot more in your favor had Magus Sisters been behind something, maybe like behind that Earth Crystal that you got from the D-Mist.
Point, I was just going more for 10 key items for the grind, either for Ribbon Room or for the D machine at the end. I didn't really care. I would have loved to have seen Adamant for an X-Cal for Cecil. I had to buy the light sword before going to do the D machine, but I just wanted 10 key items at that point. Didn't really matter what they were.
Yeah, that would have been definitely a good help to catch up. I know the other three runners the other runners did their D machines very early. Rybon had the benefit of a double slingshot, but other than that, yeah, it was still a pretty rough grind. But yeah, unfortunately, just the placement of everything. Yeah. But
Had Tella come earlier, I was kind of holding off on ordeals just in case, but I forgot to check the bed or check Kaipo before going underground, so it happens.
yeah, but we were definitely watching that Mom Bomb fight. That was a pretty hairy fight that you almost made look easy.
The crystal armor that I bought almost didn't matter in the end. It was just keep Cecil blinked and then hope to God I had enough to get to skip the explode phase at that point.
Yeah, if you've got a berserk melee swinging for 2,000, the Leviathan spot's a pretty good spot for Mom to do that. I've been asking every other runner this. What was your gear strategy going into this T standard set, and what were you trying to what were you thinking as you were trying to put your team together here?
Assume nothing. Just you're not gonna find anything. Just make do with whatever you got. When the Dark Knight Cecil showed up, I was kind of hoping for a black sword. I saw a mute knife for Kane at one point, or a fire. There was a fire sword. I'm like, yep, that's good enough. Let's just go. There's not going to be much more. The black sword would have been nice, but yeah, you're not really going to see much on T standard. The Evelyn play probably wasn't even worth it as far as the trap chest goes. So, oh well. This full gauntlet flags are kind of tailor made for a D machine. So you just kind of expect that going into it, especially when, oh hey, darkness 5 seconds into the siege. Gee, thanks.
Yeah, too familiar with that setup. But yeah, that's about all I got.
No, and you summarized everything pretty well. I mean, that was the difference in the race. I mean, you still ran a fantastic race, all things said. It was just D Machine. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, that was the entire Fabul Gauntlet tournament, wasn't it? But
I mean, I wasn't in it for a whole long. I got eliminated pretty quick, so.
well, slightly before my time. I've just heard stories. I just want to thank you both. Looking forward to watching this one back. I don't even remember who I put on tracking at the moment. My brain is failing. Dubward, thank you for tracking. Hush Pyramid, we're going to have words over that Darkness Crystal, but otherwise, good seed. GG. One thing I want to mention, tomorrow night, over on RPG Limit Break, Alicel and I are taking part in Questing for Glory 5. So we will be racing Free Enterprise about 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. So hopefully we'll see most, if not all of you there, again, over at RPG Limit Break. But again, thank you everybody involved, and everyone have a good night. Yep.
Well, thanks again, Cubs Rule 21, for putting on a great race, along with all of our other featured runners, Funnel Cakes, Rex Manor, and Rybon. Yeah, I got the ping from Hush Pyramid to make sure to plug RPG Limit.